Hi there. So this has been a really intimidating video to film just because I'm being really vulnerable on here and just kind of sharing things that I've really struggled with over the last few years. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive on into it. So, as you know from one of my previous videos, if you haven't watched it, one of my goals this year is to try and get back into exercising. And that's been a real challenge for me after dealing with chronic pain, and illness and injury. And so I'm just going to be vulnerable and let you guys know how August went. It was really an experiment for me to try and exercise a little bit more, but also listen to my body. So my goal for August was 200,000 steps. And I actually did hit this goal, but it was really challenging. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know at the end kind of how I hit this goal and what my next goals are. But let me walk you through what the month looked like and my takeaways from it. So before we kind of dive into, you know, what this month was, I just want to give a little bit of background. So, I'm here not as a professional, but just sharing my own experience. And I want this to be a really positive environment where I'm not just focusing on hey, these are the things that are happening to me, but I'm actually going to try and take back the control here and show you guys what I'm doing to overcome it. And really, that's the goal of this channel, is just taking you guys through all of my experiences, whether that be business, spirituality, and meditation, health, and just showing you what I'm doing and how it's affected me. And if you want to take the advice, then go ahead. And if you don't, that's totally fine too. I just think by sharing this, that it's going to open the conversation and open the door for more people to start sharing about this. And like I've said in so many other videos, I would have loved to find a video like this a few years ago, because I didn't really feel a lot of hope in terms of being able to exercise again. And growing up as an athlete, this was really heartbreaking to me. So, just a quick background on me and why I stopped exercising. So, you could kind of have a little bit of background and put yourself, either be able to relate to this or just understand where I'm coming from, is low blood sugar. So, I actually didn't realize this until last year. And it was a huge turning point to me to realize that there was a reason why I was feeling so tired after exercise, or so dizzy and lightheaded. And I found this out through a CGM, and I can get into this more in another video. But what I was noticing is I would hit critical lows while doing simple things like walking. And so critical lows is when your blood sugar gets to a point where your body can't function optimally. And for me, they were hitting critical lows to the point that would really affect me. So this has been, I'll say, a simple fix, because I know that when my blood sugar gets low, I need to eat something. And so over time, my body started giving me some more signals of hey, you're walking and you actually need more food. So again, super simple fix. I eat before I walk. If I start feeling this way on a walk, I either carry snacks with me or just go back to where I'm staying and have some more food, and then continue walking at a later point in time when I'm not feeling so lightheaded and just tired. And some injuries and illnesses are like this, right? There's a really clear, straightforward solution of, hey, when this happens, you do X, and then it's just about being prepared. Being prepared in different situations. Obviously, walking around your home is very different than maybe going for a hike or walking while you're on vacation. And so it does take some more planning, but with some illnesses and injuries, you could really plan for it and have an immediate solution if you're starting to feel off. But I'm also dealing with a second problem that is more unknown. So that would be bone issues. And that might not be the right term. That might not be what's going on. But I have a lot of unexplained pain within my shins and my chest. And to me, it feels like bone pain. It feels very similar to breaking a bone, not at all like muscle pain. And so that's just what I'm calling it. At one point, I was told I had a stress fracture, but years later, the pain continues. So it doesn't necessarily sit right with me. And I'll explain more about that in another video if you guys are curious. But the point here is that I'm dealing with chronic pain and it's less straightforward to solve. So when I go for a walk, I never know if it is going to be a day where the pain really impacts me or a day where it's kind of easier to navigate. And also with this, sometimes the pain happens during the exercise, but a lot of times for me, it's actually after. So it'll happen in the middle of the night or right after the walk or the next day, even, or several days. Like it'll persist for several days. So it's less straightforward. It's not something I can necessarily plan for. However, even though my symptoms are directly correlated with exercise here, but I'm not doing anything for days on end, generally I don't have that pain. However, there's no reason to believe it should hurt me physically. I've done kind of all my due diligence there, and it doesn't seem like exercising is going to directly make this worse. So if you have a condition where exercise is going to deteriorate you somehow, obviously it's not a good choice. For many people with chronic pain, chronic illness, exercise actually does have its benefits. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's not actually going to hurt you in any sort of way or worsen your condition. So definitely check with your provider, check with yourself, just be able to make that distinction. And I think that was my big blocker to exercise is I know that my symptoms flare when I exercise, even if I change nothing else in my routine. However, I also know or, have come to believe that it's not necessarily going to harm me in any way and make anything in my body worse. It just makes the symptoms worse. So with that being said, I know some of you watching this are probably in a similar boat and you're saying, yep, I've checked all those boxes. You have something that you just have to plan for, but it's really uncomfortable or inconvenient. Or maybe you have something where you have no idea what to do and how to get back into the rhythm of exercise or how this is going to impact you. And all I'm here to say is I understand both sides of that story, and I'm just here, again, not to give expert advice, but just to tell you what's helped me. So here are my lessons. I believe I have 10. So here's my 10 lessons from getting myself to 200,000 steps in August. So number one, the fear is most often worse than the pain. So when I look back over the last 5-6 years where I stopped exercising, the biggest thing stopping me is actually the fear that I'm going to suffer afterwards, even if I'm feeling fine in the moment. So I think that holds me back more than the actual pain because I'm dwelling on that, and it leads me to say no to do things, led me to say no to going on hikes with family, to going on walks with people that I care about, to really just pursuing other exercise. And so if I learn to just do it and deal with the pain in the moment, maybe that's not during exercise, but another time, other than anticipate trying to have pain and to what degree, I seem to be a lot happier. Like I'll actually exercise and just say, you know what, if the pain comes up, I'll figure out a solution to deal with it. But right now I'm okay. And right now I want to experience this exercise with myself or with other people. And so that's been huge over the last month, I think. And I'm filming this a lot later than August, but just kind of reflecting on those moments. There were definitely times where I would have been in pain the night before and it was just miserable. And I'm so stuck on that memory that it's like, oh, I don't want to do this today, even though I'm maybe feeling okay. So I think that, like I said, the fear just held me back a lot more than the actual pain. If I just said no to exercise when I was actively in pain, and that's the only time I said no to exercise, I think that I would be exercising a lot more. So that's one thing that's really helped me, may help you, is that of course the pain is real and I think we have to acknowledge it, but what is it that we're saying no to exercise for? Is it because we're actively in pain, or is it because we're anticipating the pain coming on? There's nothing wrong with that either. Like, I think that there's something to be said about knowing your body and knowing that, okay, this activity can cause me pain later, but I think as long as it's not causing like a physical injury and you have a plan set up to deal with that pain, it can be really enjoyable to exercise again. So that's point number one. Okay, point number two, make accommodations for yourself. So really think about like what's going to help set you up for success. So again, for me, sometimes this, or all the time really, it means like eating before taking snacks, staying close to home, taking a break. I think this just makes me feel more in control, and it makes me feel like, okay, even though this may be hard, like here are the things that are going to make it easier. I think taking a break is really key too. If you are near any sort of park or recreational area or you're walking indoors, like it's totally fine to walk a little bit and sit down and take a break and then get back to it if it feels right for you. And that's really helped me over the last month, is just how can I set myself up for success on the walk and after the walk, really. All right, so another one is a win is a win. So some days I didn't hit my goal for my step count. I really didn't think I was going to hit this monthly goal either. Like it really came in the last day. I really pushed myself because I'm such a perfectionist with numbers, and it's okay if you don't hit your goals. It's not really the point. The point for me in this, going back to like my original goal, is just to be able to exercise more, be able to in the future go on vacation with friends and family and not feel like I'm held back by not being able to walk, being able to say yes to do more things in my life. So sometimes it's recognizing just that you're further than you were, and just getting out there is a win. So don't be too hard on yourself and really count the wins. Even if they're not your ideal target, think about the fact that you did exercise. I think that if you have that positive reinforcement, you're more likely to get back out there. Okay. Number 4, figure out your best routine around this. So just really keep the data and keep tabs of, do you have the most energy in the morning? At night, maybe? What else can you do around your routine to reduce pain? So for me, a lot of times what I'll do is immediately after getting back from a walk, I'll take a hot bath because I know that the heat helps my legs. And so if I'm proactive about, okay, well, I'm just going to do this to help mitigate the pain, that's been really good. Maybe sleeping more. Maybe you need to sleep more in order to accommodate that exercise. Or get a massage or whatever it is for you. Just try and figure out a routine around your exercise so that you are most comfortable and most confident. You're just doing it at an optimal time for your body. All right. Number 5, track your data. So you'll see progress in the small details and you'll learn how to optimize your process. So for example, when you walk, if your HRV, for like example, is already low, maybe you feel more pain. Or if you eat a certain food, maybe you feel better or worse. So I've really tried to optimize, and I'm still just looking for the best sequence of how to do things of, okay, maybe this is a day where I need to exercise a little bit lower because my data is saying something, or maybe this food helps before I walk, or maybe a sequence of doing things helps. So I think that it could be interesting just to track everything you're doing and see what days do you feel the best, what days are you in the least amount of pain, or which days is your illness not acting up as much, or your injury is better. But like, what are all the factors that lead into that for you? Okay. Number 6, focus on the benefits. So even though there may be pain in one area of your body, exercising may be helping you in other ways. So for me, I definitely noticed that it helps my mental health. And I know that that's a really simple thing, but even though maybe I feel more pain in my legs than if I wasn't exercising, I can also see that my mental health is improving because I'm exercising. Or you could see if you have a wearable device, maybe your heart rate is changing, maybe losing weight or gaining weight, depending on where you're at, or gaining muscle. Like, I think when we start focusing on how it's benefiting us, we want to do it more. And so for me, I really try and look at, okay, here's the drawback, but like, here are the benefits to keep doing this. All right, number 7, positive self-talk with yourself. So really reinforcing every single time you do it that this is something positive and that you are making progress. Every step is adding up for you, regardless of if you walk 10,000 steps in a day or 1,000 steps in a day. And so when you're trying to like relive why you're in this place or how you were able to exercise before, or how you're not meeting a milestone, or your friends can do this, but you can't. It's really hard. And that kind of talk, I think, just really discourages you. And that was a lot of the thoughts that were going on for me for years. And so, me just being my own advocate and me being on my own side during this journey makes it so much easier than when I was beating up myself of like, well, you only did 1,000 steps, but before you could do 10,000, no problem. Or your friends could do this, why can't you? And when that was a voice in my head, I just never wanted to try. But when the voices are saying, like, hey, every step you take is adding up and you're doing a really great job. And I'm proud of you for getting out here. It really helps, and it helps keep me going. And I know that it'll help you as well. Number 8, gradual increases and consistency is important. So if you have a goal of, this is probably not realistic, but say you have a goal of walking 10 miles a day, you really can't, if you're just coming back from an injury or you're dealing with an illness that you hadn't before, it's really not realistic to say, like, I'm going to go from 0 to 100. But you can make plans to slowly achieve this goal. And so for me, that was a lesson that was really hard for me to learn. It took a lot of time and a lot of people telling me, like, you don't have to go out there and walk 5 miles, like, do 1,000 steps and get comfortable at that. And it's a lot better to do less than you think you can, or less than you physically can, and come back and say, okay, that felt good, and just build on that versus overdoing it and then never wanting to come back to it. So I think that's been a really key moment for me. I definitely think I'll hit the 10,000 step goal at some point on a more regular basis. But for me right now, being able to hit those lower step goals and just get to a point where I feel really comfortable and confident with that, I know that I could work my way up and that it won't be something where I just try and fail automatically. Okay, number 9, tie this activity to something else you like. So instead of having to exercise or walk or whatever you're doing and being in your own head the whole time of like, this is terrible, I feel so much pain, how I'm going to feel after, try to make this an enjoyable process. So whether that being going for a walk somewhere you really love, coupling this with an activity you like talking to a friend on the phone, listening to a book, listening to a podcast, anything you can to just make the experience enjoyable. Because if you tie it to something you like in your brain, then you're going to want to do it more and you're going to associate the experience with something positive. And number 10, be patient with yourself. So this is an individual process and there's going to be ups and downs and it's going to take a while. And even though it's not challenging for some people, it is challenging for you right now. And maybe your former self could do this, but you really have to be patient with yourself during this process. And just like anything else, relearning how to do something takes time. Just like learning how to do something takes time. So really just give yourself grace and celebrate every single win. And if you're having a bad day, just let yourself know that this isn't forever. You can try again tomorrow. So in conclusion, there were times in this journey that I didn't want to continue because the pain would be so bad, especially at night. It would wake me up in the middle of the night and just would be so bad. And I'm still working on figuring this out, and it's an ever-evolving process. But I am really proud of myself for sticking to it, hitting the 200,000 step goal. And even if I didn't hit it, I still would have been proud of myself for showing up continuously and really sticking this out, even though it was tough. So what's next? I wrote this a little while ago when I finished the 200,000 steps. So where I wanted to be is being able to increase by 10,000 steps a month. So eventually I could get to the point where I'm walking an average of 10,000 steps a day. However, and I'm already up against this, having one less day, because August was 31 days, September is 30. But the bigger thing is just being consistent and keep walking rather than give up on this altogether and just keep that momentum going. It's already September 19th, and spoiler alert, I am a little bit more behind this month than last month. But like I said, I'm just going to keep focusing on these 10 tips that I gave to myself and gave to you guys, and really just keep pushing forward, keep this goal in mind and know that eventually it'll get easier and I'll adapt and I'll get stronger. And so I'd love to know in the comments down below if you guys are dealing with coming back to exercise after an injury or an illness or dealing with chronic pain and what you're doing. And if any of these tips helped, please let me know. I'd love to make more videos on this topic because I think it isn't talked about so much and is super important. So thanks you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.